All right, let's do this thing. Week 11 NFL Power Rankings. Things are starting to take shape. Those who are new to this channel, I always do 7 from the AFC, 7 from the NFC in my top 14 rankings because that's how the playoffs will look. There will be 7 teams from each AFC and NFC, so I always do it that way. Even though there are 6 teams in the AFC that are above 500, 8 in the NFC, so the NFC has more high-quality teams. The AFC has some really good ones at the very top, though. You can see over there on the left, the Kansas City Chiefs are still the undefeated team. 9-0, and the Detroit Lions are right on their heels at 8-1. I like to show this to see where things are. If you look on the left, you can see the Chargers are the 6th team with a winning record, but 6-3. After that, it's Denver 5-5, and then losing record teams. On the right, you've got all the way down to the Niners at 8th that are 5-4. After that, you've got the losing teams with the Bears at 4-5 all the way down. Last week, there were 9 teams that only had 2 wins. This week, there's 6 teams that only have 2 wins because 3 of those 2-win teams got wins. So that's pretty big for balancing out the equation. At the top of the AFC, it's probably a little more intense with the competition with the Kansas City, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Houston, Baltimore, all really quality teams at the top of the AFC. At the NFC, you've got Detroit, Philadelphia's coming on really strong. But after that, who's really the main competition? It's not quite as stacked, but you have more winning teams with teams like the Niners and the Commanders that are surging and coming on strong. Even teams like the Rams, who lost the game they probably wish they didn't yesterday, and the Buccaneers coming on a little stronger. Who's going to win in the NFC South? That's probably my biggest question out of all those because they're going to squeak into the playoffs. Atlanta, I don't know if they're going to hold it. They only have a plus-minus. You look over on the right, those green numbers, they only have a plus-minus of 2. And the Buccaneers, once they're healthy, probably are a little stronger team. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Well, let's get into the rankings, though. I always like to do my farthest fallers and my largest risers. There wasn't really any big shocks this week for who lost. So the Commanders are the biggest faller at 4. And after being 2 wins and having big wins and winning streaks coming, the Dolphins and Panthers both raised 4 spots this week. So no huge changes this week, but there are some small changes. The Raiders this week are going to take over the last spot for me. The poor Raiders have fallen to the last spot after the Panthers went on a winning streak. Losers of 5 straight. The Raiders come out of their bye week with more questions than answers. They head on the road to face the Dolphins this week. That little red number is how much they fell. If it's green, that means they rose this week. The Giants have lost 5 in a row. Losing to the Panthers is pretty much a nail in the coffin for me for this season. It wouldn't shock me one bit if the Giants end up picking first overall in the draft. The Giants are home this week against the Buccaneers in Week 11. The Titans are headed the wrong way again. I gave them a temporary bump for their win over the Patriots, but they botched it yet again with another loss against the Chargers. Face 3 tough teams next. They host the Vikings this Sunday. All right, the Browns were on a bye, but they slide down 4 spots, mostly because teams below them just raised up. They won. Panthers, Saints, Patriots, they all jumped up while the Browns were on their bye week. They get a chance to redeem themselves this week against the Saints, so that'll be a big matchup for them. The Panthers are on a winning streak with Bryce Young under center. I haven't been able to say that before. I'll pause for half a second because that's how. But now they get the Chiefs at home, and that's pretty much the end of that brief streak, right? All right, the Jaguars, despite their 2-8 records, have been close in almost every matchup this year. A 12-7 loss to the Vikings that felt like they could have won that one doesn't take the sting off the fact that they have to face the Lions this week in Detroit. All right, the Saints lost 7 in a row, and apparently all it took was firing their coach to be able to put an end to that losing streak. I probably jumped them too high after beating the Falcons, but they have a legitimate shot to win a 2nd in a row as they face the Browns this week at home. The Patriots are starting to show some signs of life after beating the Jets, narrowly losing to the Titans, and then manhandling the Bears. They're headed in the right direction and have 3 winnable games coming up, all against teams with losing records. They host the Rams this Sunday. A week after beating the Texans, the Jets got absolutely throttled by the surging Cardinals. Losers of 6 of their last 7, the Jets should probably be ranked lower, but I'm still giving them potential points here. They face the Colts at home this week. The same Cowboys team that beat the Steelers have now lost 4 in a row and look like the season is slipping away from them. Monday Night Football against the Texans this week for a battle of the Texas teams and Texas bragging rights. The Dolphins with Tua back, they might be a totally different team. The difference of this team with and without him is night and day. Huge win against the Rams on Monday night last week. Could be the start to turning this year around for the Dolphins. This week they get a very winnable game against the Raiders. The Colts, it apparently doesn't matter who the Colts have under center. They might need to shake something up other than just the quarterback to get out of their 3-game losing streak. They head on the road to take on the Jets this week, though, so that's a very winnable game. I should rank the Bengals higher, but I have high expectations for them that they refuse to meet. They looked like they had it against the Ravens, but let it slip away. This week is a must-win in my eyes as they head on the road to take on the Chargers. The Pigeons of the Sea remarkably move up 3 spots even though they were on a bye. They benefited from bad teams losing around them, and honestly, I probably should have put them just below the Bengals. I feel like I have the Seahawks misplaced here, but the next couple of weeks sort all of that out. They head to Santa Clara to face the Niners in Week 11. The Rams are kicking themselves for mishandling the red zone repeatedly against the Dolphins last week. They ended a 3-game winning streak that they were on, but they could continue to be on the rise. Week 11 has them facing the Patriots on the road. The Bears are in turmoil with a 3-game losing streak against teams they were expected to win before this year started. Now they face the hardest schedule from Week 11 to the rest of the season on. Not a good time to face their main rival, the Packers, that have won 10 straight against them. Maybe facing them at home will give them a shot. Probably not with their run defense against Josh Jacobs, though. All right, the Buccaneers. I admit I'm overranking the Buccaneers here. Hear me out, though. They've lost 4 in a row, but even with the decimated team, they've looked really good in those losses. Most recently, 23-20 to the Niners, 30-24 to the Chiefs. They should get back on track this week with the road game against the Giants. All right, and then last of the non-playoff teams, I've got the Cardinals. They deserve to be in the top 14. They do. But as I said, there's 8 NFC teams with a winning record and only 6 NFC teams on top of that. The NFC South doesn't have a dominant team. The Cardinals have won 4 in a row, and without my restrictions, I would have them in the 11-14 range. They head to Seattle to face the Seahawks this week. All right. As I said, only 6 teams in the AFC have a record above 500. By default, the Broncos get in as the 7th AFC team, even after losing 2 in a row. Maybe the Bengals or Colts can upend them this week. But the Broncos get the Falcons, Raiders, Browns, and Colts in the next 4 weeks. Denver was expected to compete for the number 1 overall pick this year, have the worst record. So everything right now is gravy for their fan base. They get the Falcons at home this week in Week 11. Speaking of the Falcons, they had their brief winning streak halted by their embarrassing loss to the division rival Saints. They've won 5 of their last 7, and in those wins, they're averaging 32 points. In the 2 losses over that stretch, they're scoring 16 points. Which team will show up when they face the Broncos in Denver this week? That's the question. All right, the Texans, losers of 2 in a row. The Texans look like they've lost their edge. C.J. Stroud had a killer instinct about him in his rookie campaign, even when he flashed rookie inaccuracies many rookies go through. That killer edge looks like it's dipping into a sophomore slump, though, with flashes of brilliance last week against the Lions. Will he shake out of it? Despite 5 picks, the Lions still found a way to top the Texans. The Texans get a chance to bounce back against Monday Night Football against the Cowboys in Arlington. All right, y'all know how I feel about the Packers. Vomit, puke, vomit, puke. The Packers find ways to win out lucky ways that they never should win games in. It really makes you believe some teams are truly lucky and some are truly cursed. Their matchup this week against division rival Bears are truly a cursed team. Should be a layup win, right? I'm reversing the curse right now. The Bears don't deserve this trash from the Packers anymore. One of football's most historic rivalries has a chance to be reignited this weekend if the Bears can find a way to beat the Packers. The Chargers, none of the Chargers' wins are impressive at all. Their recent 3-game winning streak boasts such glamorous wins as the Saints, Browns, and Titans. Their true tests are coming up next, though, as they face the Bengals, Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs, and Bucks in a row. This is a stretch that could catapult them into the rankings or drop them off the playoff rankings altogether. Right now, on the verge of a top 10 is appropriate where they should belong, but we'll see over the next few weeks how it goes. The Chargers get to face the Bengals Week 11 at home. All right, the Commanders had a tough loss against the Steelers that snapped a 3-game winning streak. At 7-3, the Commanders lost the division lead with the Eagles surging ahead of them, but they get a shot of taking the division lead back when they head to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles this week in Thursday Night Football. This week is littered with awesome matchups. It really is. Thursday Night Football is going to be a fun one this week. All right, the Niners with Christian McCaffrey back, they could get real scary real quick. Your guess is as good as mine who will come out on top of the NFC West this year, but I would never bet against the Niners. They do get a divisional matchup this week as they host the Seahawks. All right, at number 7, we got the Vikings. Everyone was impressed with the Vikings when they started the season 5-0. Then they lost 2 in a row and looked like a totally different team. Are the Vikings back to winning, or are they benefiting from some layup matchups after losing to the Rams and Lions? Something is off about this Viking team, but they still boast a 7-2 record in the toughest division in football. This week should be another layup for the Vikings as they face the Titans on the road. I wouldn't expect them to lose. All right, the Eagles. After an up-and-down start to the season, the Eagles look back on track after winning last 5 in a row. Last week's beatdown of the division rival Cowboys was a statement win for sure. With that win and the Commanders' loss, the Eagles took over the divisional lead. Now they have to defend that lead with the division on the line this week on Thursday Night Football as they host the Commanders. They're up 2 spots to number 6. All right, now we have a run of AFC teams. This is where it's going to get tough. The Steelers are winners of 4 in a row, but last week was the Steelers' most important win yet with their win over the Commanders. Now they get to go against their most important win next as they face the Ravens at home in Week 11. There really are some good matchups this week. This will be one of my favorite ones to watch. The winner of this one will temporarily take over the division lead with Week 16 matchup probably deciding the ultimate winner of the AFC North. The Bills, after being tested earlier this year, they have won 5 in a row now. It hasn't been the stiffest of competition, but now they're about to get tested. We'll see who this Bills team really is over the next few weeks. They'll face the Niners and Rams and Lions, but before those, this week, they get to take on the much-anticipated matchup of the Chiefs. This will be a fun one. The only reason I dropped them a spot is because the Ravens look on their way up on top, and the Ravens do have the head-to-head win over the Bills. My current favorite to make the Super Bowl is the Baltimore Ravens, winners of 7 of their last 8 in a row with some quality opponents in that winning streak, including a 35-10 win over the Buffalo Bills. The top of the AFC makes up for a mediocre depth. It's going to be brutal to make it to the Super Bowl from the AFC side. This continues this week as the Ravens have to head on the road to face the Steelers. The top 4 AFC teams all face each other this week. It's brutal. Seriously, how do the Chiefs keep doing it? Honestly. A blocked field goal to win against the Broncos was absolutely ridiculous. That should have been their first loss. Now, this is the week that everyone has to look forward to with the Bills. I'm calling it now that the Chiefs can't go undefeated this year, and this is where the buck stops. Week 11 on the road in Buffalo. All right, even with a scare against the Texans last week, the Lions are still my top team. They've looked absolutely dominant each and every week this year. Small blip in Week 2 against the Buccaneers, and it's been dominant, important win after that. Probably the best winning resume of the year so far. Does that mean this Week 11 matchup against the Jaguars is a trap game or an opportunity to flex that they're the true number 1? We'll see. All right. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Those are my Week 11 power rankings. Please let me know what you think of them. Let me know where you think I'm off, where you think I'm a little bit on. These come out each Tuesday right after the Monday Night Football game. I stay up and I do them into the night on Monday night, release it on Tuesday. Each Wednesday I do my weekly prediction video. I do appreciate you guys watching. So please hit the subscribe button, comment, be a part of it. I enjoy this community. I enjoy it growing. I appreciate all of you guys. Until next time, good luck to your teams this week, and we'll see you next week.